Okay, everyone, so we're going to get started. Thanks for joining. My name is Colleen Lubin. I'm Associate Director of Student Involvement at Southern New Hampshire University, and I serve as the Programs Chair for Region 1. I worked on this program with Cody Beers, who's also on the conference committee, and Cody is on call right now for summer programs, so I'm going to be doing most, if not all, of the talking, just in case there's a call that needs to be attended to. So we are recording this. There are many reviewers who weren't able to join us live, which is absolutely fine. So we'll be recording this and then sharing the link out in the slides with everyone as well. Hoping this won't take too much of your time. I know the summer is a busy one for us prepping and planning, but we did get some feedback from folks that they thought it'd be helpful for both the presentation coordinators as well as the reviewers themselves to go over how the process works and also some expectations for everyone. So we're going to go over that, and we're going to allow for questions. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat, and I will do my best to address those. If you can mute yourself, if you have everyone's audio who's not on the phone muted already, but if you can mute yourself if you're not already so we don't have background noise, that would be great. Okay, so quick outline of what we're going to do. We've got the welcome and overview. We're going to walk through how it works, expectations, timeline, questions and answers, and that'll be that. Again, if you have questions, just put it in the chat and I'll be happy to address those either throughout or at the end. All right, so first is we just want to thank everyone who volunteered for program reviewing. It's a really important part of the process for us, and obviously people invest a lot of time and money to attend the conference. We want to make sure that we're providing the best possible content for folks. So we thank everyone who submits a program and everyone who's willing to review. We're hoping that this session will help guide both the program reviewers as well as presenters that we have. We have a lot who've submitted for the first time. Intentional program reviews contribute to the overall experience of the conference for folks, and it serves as a great opportunity to be involved and connected with the region for a relatively short commitment versus some of the longer term positions. So here's how it works. Just one quick reminder, if you can mute yourself, that would be awesome, especially for the recording so people can hear everything. Okay, so this is a quick play-by-play of how program reviewing works. I know that we have some who've done it before many times and some who've never done it before. So I thought this would just be a helpful kind of walkthrough of what it will look like. So if you go to the NASPA website and you log in with your credentials, on the top right corner, there will be a My NASPA tab. So if you go there and you click on Engagement Portal, that's how you get started. Then once you get to the engagement portal, you're going to scroll down and you'll see sort of on the bottom right your reviewer activity. And so that will list your assigned programs, and then you will click on view assignments. I will talk a little bit about assignments later. They will go out on Wednesday. Once you get there, you'll see reviewer assignments, and then they will be listed there. Most reviewers will have about 3 to 5 programs assigned. And so you'll see the list there. In this case, I just added myself as a program reviewer for one to show an example. So you'll see the program ID number, and then next to it would typically be a title. This one didn't have a title. And then on the right side, it'll say reviewed, question mark, and there'll either be an X or a check. The X indicates that it hasn't been reviewed yet, so you know which ones you have waiting and which ones you have completed. Okay, so once you're there, you can click on the program ID number. That's a clickable link, and that will bring up a pop-up, a separate page to show you the program content. So I took a screenshot here, but in real life, you'd be able to scroll down and you would see all the different sections of the program proposal. So you can read it. I know some people, if you have two screens, it's very helpful to have the program proposal open on one screen and the actual review form on another. If not, you definitely can just jot down some notes, your thoughts and comments on the proposal as you're reading it. I also recommend taking a look at the review form in general first, so to refresh yourself on what you are kind of scoring on, and then that way you can review the proposal based on that. So then you're going to click review. Whoops, sorry. You're going to click review, and you'll complete your review for that program. So the criteria that they're reviewing on would be relevance to the conference purpose. We don't have a theme, so we have a conference purpose statement, which you can find on our conference webpage. Proposal content, the evidence of solid foundation for content, adherence to proposal submission guidelines, and engaging program format. So you'll see that, and then for each one of those, there will be a rating scale. So from strongly disagree to strongly agree, you're going to select whatever level you agree to that particular statement. Under each category, you can see that there's kind of a descriptive sentence so you know what you're looking for. And under the rating, you're going to leave your comments. So I would say that the rating is only as helpful as the comment explaining it. So whether you put strongly disagree or strongly agree, if I'm the person who's coordinating that presentation, it's very helpful for me to know why you feel that way. So make sure that you are leaving comments for each rating. We'll go over a little bit more about what to put in the comments in a moment, but comments are really helpful. And then once you've gone through those categories at the bottom, general comments regarding the proposal, and then your recommendation. So it's accept, reject, or accept with improvements. Certainly if you're putting accept with improvements in particular, what you're recommending gets improved is really important. But in general, the comments at the end kind of wrapping up your overall feeling about that proposal is important. And then once you're done with everything, have read it over, you click submit, and that one is done. And then when you go back to your listing, there will now be a green check mark. That's how you know that it is complete, and you can just repeat that process and go down your 3 to 5 approximately programs. So I'm just going to pause here for a second and see if anybody has any questions that you want to put in the chat just about the play-by-play of the technology piece and how to review. All right. Seems like we're good. So moving on. Expectations overall. It was explained a little bit in the volunteer sheet, so hopefully you know what you signed up for. But you want to leave yourself enough time to complete all the reviews. You don't want to be that person that tries to squeeze it all in one session and then the last proposal isn't given as much time or energy as the first one because there just isn't enough time. My recommendation would be to break it up into small chunks. Even if you only have 5, if you do, 1 or 2 at a time, whatever works for you, but just make sure that you have the time to dedicate the same level of energy to all of your reviews. Then familiarize yourself with the conference purpose statement. So there's a link there. So when I send out the slides, you can go to that page, but it's just the NASPA Region 1 conference page. So that way you know when it comes to relevance to that purpose, you can compare there. Be respectful and constructive. For some, this is their very first conference proposal ever. So having constructive feedback is very helpful. And complete all the reviews within the timeline given. So we're going to go over the timeline a little bit at the end, but if for some reason something comes up at home or at work that is going to prevent you from completing by the timeline, please let me know, and I can either reassign them or we can make a plan. But you'll see that the timeline is pretty tight, so we want to make sure that we get all of our programs reviewed. So in preparing for the program chair position, there is a great manual that the NASPA office sends out, and included in that was a YouTube tutorial that the annual conference about program reviews at the annual conference. So the link is there, and I did take some highlights from that were relevant to the region. So some of the recommendations are: be clear and specific in both praise and criticism, be balanced, fair, and professional, give actionable feedback, and try and be well-written and concise. And then some questions to consider as you're writing your reviews: what would make it better? What is concerning, if anything? Are there multiple perspectives being shared? Do you believe in the program content, and is it relevant? What can you do to help the authors improve the content, and would you or a colleague want to attend this session? So as you're reviewing, just kind of keep those questions in mind, and base your feedback on your answers to those questions. So some things to look for. Welcome to those of you who are joining us now. So what makes a good program proposal? Clear learning outcomes and takeaways. The topic is grounded in theory and/or practice. The information is organized appropriately, and the appropriate audience indicated and matches the topic. So if, whatever the topic may be, if it's about, searching for your first position, that we know that that's going to be, for grad students and new professionals, making sure that the audience matches the content. And then some indications of some needed improvement or feedback: poor grammar or unorganized, any problematic language, the message is not clearly conveyed, or the audience does not align with the topic being presented. So some things to keep in mind: the coordinating presenter receives all of their feedback regardless of the decision. It is anonymous, it doesn't include any names, but they do receive all of that feedback. So keep that in mind as you're writing your reviews and your comments. And think about, if it is accepted, are there any tweaks that they could make to make it the best it could be? If it's being declined, what changes should be made in order for them to submit for the future or for another conference or opportunity? If you're selecting accept with improvements, what are the specific actionable recommendations you would make? So that way it would be great content for Region 1. So you're saying that it has potential, but it needs some changes. So what changes are those, and be very specific. And just consider what would be helpful to you as a prospective presenter. So many of us have presented at conferences, both regionally and nationally. We've probably received helpful and not so helpful reviews before. So just think about, would you want to receive this review? Is this helpful to you? Would this help make your proposal or your presentation better? And try to use that as a guideline. So some examples, and these are some that were borrowed from the national conference YouTube tutorial. So be specific. Say, I don't like it, or this isn't good, isn't super helpful to the person. If you can give them specifics, like this program needs additional XYZ in order to get the message across, then that is obviously much more helpful. Detail-oriented, So saying the data isn't there versus saying that you found it lacking and that the program would be stronger if, and include some specific details about what you'd recommend including. Sorry. And then professional, this program stinks versus the content in this program needs further exploration in order for it to be relevant to the intended audiences. So the one part that was both funny and sad of the NASA National tutorial was the examples that they shared that had been real reviews, including "this program stinks," which is a real review, and someone commented "just all Z's" because they found it boring. So just be professional, collegial, give feedback that is helpful to folks. Yeah, so that's that. Be kind, again, similar examples, but the wording really does matter, and something that could be helpful might not be if it's a little harsh and if it's not specific or detailed enough. And then developmental. So, attending a conference is professional development, as is presenting. So, try to be developmental in what you're giving. So saying the content isn't new versus saying there are studies XYZ that could be useful. And then these are some things to use or avoid as far as giving constructive feedback. Many of us have heard or seen similar things for our day jobs, but we can use the same advice for reviewing our programs as well. So trying to be proactive, using full sentences, using an objective voice, and giving helpful suggestions for improvement. The review process is sort of inherently subjective, but just trying to be as balanced and fair as possible. Okay, so assigning programs to review. We try to do this as intentionally as possible. I did share with folks before when we were recruiting reviewers and once people started signing up that we try and base the matches on your reviewer profile. So the more detailed and accurate that is, the more likely we can match you to programs that are relevant to you, either responsibilities you currently have or have had in the past, or excuse me, or areas of interest, areas of expertise, current professional level, etc. We will try and avoid assigning folks to colleagues from their home campus, but it does happen, especially if the coordinating presenter is not from the home campus, but maybe one of 5 panelists are. So if you are assigned a program you don't feel comfortable reviewing for any reason, either because of the presenters, excuse me, or because of the content or the level, please let me know. I will do my best to reassign. We have a lot of program submissions and a lot of reviewers, which is amazing, but I'm sure there will be a match or two that feels like it doesn't make sense. So feel free to let me know and I'll try and make tweaks to it. But we do try and match as intentionally as we can. If your reviewer profile is pretty blank, then it does make it a little bit harder to match based on your interests. So I'm still working on them, finishing them up. So if you want to log in and go to that engagement profile and then update your reviewer profile, that would be super helpful if you haven't already. Okay, and then the timeline. So July 8th, that's today, we're doing our webinar. The 10th, all the programs will be assigned and an email will be sent to reviewers letting you know that you've gotten your assignments and how to proceed. July 24th, the reviews are due, so that's 2 weeks. And then August 7th, presenters are notified of decisions. So as you can see, the timeline is pretty tight. This is a similar timeline to what we used in the last year or two. And so if for some reason you cannot complete your reviews please just let me know. I understand that things come up, but it's hard for us to review things and find alternate reviewers in the 11th hour. And we want to make sure that we're selecting programs and notifying people of decisions before early bird deadlines and in enough time for them to speak to their campuses about being able to go to the conference and register. So it is really important that we get those reviews done. So just let me know, just communicate with me if there's something that comes up. We do understand. All right, so that's all the content. I tried to keep it quick and simple. Does anybody have any questions for me that I can address? Anything that wasn't covered here? You can put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself to ask if you're feeling very brave. Well, thanks, Steph. Okay, so I will save this recording. I will send out the slides to everyone. There are many people, like I said, who couldn't make it live, but we wanted to just make sure people had kind of a quick explanation of how it works and some guidelines on how to do the best possible job for our presenters. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, c.lubin@snhu.edu. And I'd be happy to answer any questions there as well. So thanks again so much for volunteering to be a reviewer. Your time really is appreciated. I know that there's a lot of vacations happening and things like that. So thanks so much, and you'll get your email from me on the 10th. And if any questions come up at that point, just let me know. So thanks again. Bye, everyone.